Hey, what's going on, guys? So it's about 2 a.m. I'm editing the Kenobi Roundtable while I wait for episode 3 of Kenobi to come out. And I got a little tiny bit of bad news. So I was a dingus and didn't check my audio input capture on Streamlabs. So the whole podcast, you could hear everybody else crystal clear perfectly. But of course, I didn't have any audio
Emotional damage.
and I didn't know till we finished recording it. But there's a caveat. I spent the past 2 hours basically putting voiceovers in and stuff like that. So at least when I talk and stuff like that, the conversations continues to go. The only bad part is that my lips aren't going to match up. So if this is a problem for you, I would recommend listening to the audio version, because all the audio homies, you guys aren't going to have a problem at all listening to this. It's just going to sound like we're having a normal conversation. But for all the YouTube homies, yeah, my lips aren't going to match up to what I'm saying. So everything will be back to normal for Saturday's podcast. Hopefully I should have that one out on Sunday. This one took a little bit longer just because I had to go back through an hour and a half worth of footage and voice over everything. So with that, I hope you guys really enjoyed this roundtable. We had some awesome topics in here. We got a great group of people. And I'm excited for Kenobi tonight and for the Kenobi roundtable on Saturday. So with that, may the Force be with you, and I'll see you guys in the video. Hello there, and welcome to another episode of PMP's Den of Antiquities. Today, I'm happy to announce that we have another roundtable for you guys. But before we get into that, I need you to force choke the like button and Jedi mind trick the subscribe button. It really helps out my channel, and I really appreciate all you guys for watching. Now, more importantly, let's get into Kenobi. But actually, before we get into Kenobi, let's go around the round table and everybody list off their social medias so the good listeners of this podcast can know where to find you guys. Tyler, do you want to go first?
I would be happy to. My name is Tyler Pearson. I am an hopefully up-and-coming author, and I also have a science fiction podcast going by the name of Approaching Light Speed. You can follow me on Instagram at dtylerpierson and on Twitter at ApproachingCPod.
And just so you guys know, I'll have all the links down in the description so you can find everybody's social medias in the description. Grant, do you want to go next?
My name is Grant. I'm a new and upcoming cosplayer in the Mandalorian realm. I've just recently started out. You can find me on Instagram at Vanguard Mandalorian.
Mackenzie, do you want to go next?
Hi, I'm Mackenzie. I'm a cosplayer and influencer, and you guys can find me at TikTok and Instagram at mackenziejoy_.
And last but certainly not least, Nick, do you want to go?
Hi, I'm Nick, owner of CGSProps on Instagram. Not Instagram, on Etsy. I'm only on Instagram under the name CGS_props.
Well, now that we got all that covered, my first question to you guys is, what do you guys think about the first 2 episodes of Kenobi? You know, it's been since 2005 since we've seen both Hayden and Ewan back on the big screen, so this is a pretty big deal, especially for people who grew up with the prequels. Tyler, what do you think?
You know what it's been, first of all, 17 years. That's kind of insane to think about, right? Isn't that terrible in a way? But you know what, the only thing I can really top of my head doesn't have anything to do with, Ewan McGregor coming back and doing a great job as Obi-Wan, but that little girl who played Princess Leia was so good. She did such a fantastic job, and I didn't see her being a part of the show coming in any way, and it was a fun little surprise to see that. But yeah, I mean, the thing, honestly, also her and that prequel recap they did at the beginning that looked like a movie trailer, actually it was kind of dope. The music they were using, it just kind of got you hyped to rewatch them at some point. But the general tone of, especially of episode 1, where they were really taking their time and showing Obi-Wan's trauma and reaction to everything that's happened over the past 10 years. And like, he's having nightmares about, back when he was friends with Anakin, and like just the really awful state he's in. That's exactly what I wanted to see from an Obi-Wan show, is just him laying low and just trying to put it all behind him, so to speak. And it was cool to finally see that like on the big screen.
Yeah, Tyler, I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's crazy that we're getting all this stuff now. But Grant, what do you think?
I think my biggest thing was that we saw Star Wars. It was like, I was really expecting block by block, Kenobi, because that's what we were looking for. And the amount of world building that I felt like I saw more lived in Tatooine than I've seen in any of the other movies, background characters and all these other little things that make Star Wars. That's what I loved. And the other thing that I kind of realized, I rewatched the episodes today in preparation for this, was the amount of background that was in there. There's one character that's one of the bounty hunters that looks like a velociraptor, like a dinosaur. And what I loved was it made Star Wars so much more relatable. There's girls walking around on that one planet, and they look like they could be just any other girl out in Vegas on a Saturday night. It made Star Wars for everyone, which I loved. And I loved how it wasn't just I expected much more like Kenobi focused movement and really locked in on him. And I felt like we got to see a lot more than just locked in on him. He'd flush through a scene, and all of a sudden you'd see the people behind him, and it gave kind of those extras a little bit of additional time that I didn't think we were going to see. I figured we'd see a lot more headshots of these major characters, and we didn't. We got to see everything, the Inquisitors with those background characters interacting, really showing that fear. And I really enjoyed that, seeing more of the whole Star Wars universe that we've all come to love.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. World building is such a important part to storytelling, and it is Star Wars in general, so I'm super excited to see where they take it from here. Not to mention that Velociraptor Assassin was like one of the coolest Star Wars characters I've seen in a hot minute.
No, I missed that the first time that I watched the episodes. I don't know if I just missed it and I was focused on other things, or I looked away for a second, but I definitely saw it that second time and I was locked in. It's like Jurassic Park hybrid. Here we go.
Yeah, it was so crazy. I really hope we see more of those creatures in the future, because
exactly.
I think they have a really, really cool design.
Yeah, here we go.
Mackenzie, what did you think?
Yeah.
Okay, overall, I was just so impressed by it. Like, it's my new favorite TV show of like Disney's, TV shows they've created for Star Wars. And Leia, that was definitely a surprise because I knew she was going to be in it because a while ago I saw her be casted. However, I kind of forgot about her because, we're all focused on Kenobi coming back. So when she all of a sudden popped up, and then all of a sudden she's like the sole reason Kenobi's leaving the planet, I was actually surprised by that, and I really enjoyed that because we see like a relationship with Obi-Wan now, and when he calls for help in New Hope, we kind of see why she's asking him instead of just being like, oh, my dad or whatever, so I'm gonna ask you, some random person. So I enjoyed seeing like the relationship start to grow and like her slowly trusting him. And I just love seeing Kenobi on different planets. Like, we know he's a Jedi, but seeing him not embody every single Jedi aspect. So he's like turning down another Jedi, saying like, just bury this lightsaber somewhere far away and hide. And he's not really being that character we know anymore. He's trying to live on past the trauma, and it's just a new character that we get to see, really, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I totally feel that. I mean, Kenobi that we get now versus Kenobi we even get in Revenge of the Sith or, Clone Wars. I mean, they're like two completely different people, kind of like Anakin and Darth Vader are now. They're two separate people. Obi-Wan kind of had to give up the life that he had for the life that he now has to live, which is kind of unfortunate for him.
I would like to interject real quick, building on that quick scene where the guy's like, come on, man, I got a family, and he's not getting paid enough. And you can see it just on Ewan McGregor's face, like he wants to do something, but like, the old Obi-Wan kind of bubbling up, like, hey, it's justice time. Let's dispense some. But like, he knows that if he does anything, he'll be caught. Like, he says so much with just his expressions in like 5 seconds. I thought it was a good acting.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that Ewan's definitely bringing the heat when it comes to acting and Kenobi. I mean,
Yeah.
he's on it. But Nick, what did you think?
Yeah, I absolutely love the first two episodes. Again, like many of you said, seeing a younger version of Leia, I was not expecting that at all. I didn't even hear about the castings that was originally for her. So I had no idea. I went into that completely blind, and she really just brought like a really larger than life attitude to the role of Leia, which worked out really well. And then for Kenobi himself, I really liked seeing um, that mental state that he is currently in, even being 10 years after his whole duel with Anakin on Mustafar. He's still having nightmares, and they were both good and bad. There was a lot of them where it was Qui-Gon dying. It was his battle with Anakin burning, but there was also some parts where Anakin was laughing and enjoying his time together. So it was really interesting seeing how his dreams still had both good and bad in them. And it was also interesting. I noticed at the end of that dream sequence, we got to see some of Jake Lloyd's Anakin Skywalker. And I was surprised we got to see that because Obi-Wan was never really a part of that moment with Anakin. So I wonder if they're connected through the force still somehow.
I completely agree, and I think it would show how strong their bond is now. But my next question is, what is your guys' favorite scene from these first two episodes?
Well, I mean, personally, the scene that I mentioned of Obi-Wan like wanting to do something but can't. I like seeing, just honestly, I loved seeing all of the stuff on Tatooine, because that's sort of like, that's something that you think about, you know, even way back when we all first saw Revenge of the Sith, and then we see like where Revenge of the Sith ends off, and then we see Obi-Wan 20 years later as, you know, Alec Guinness. And like, there was always that scratch in the back of at least my mind of like, what in the world was he doing that whole time? So it was awesome to spend that, you know, 45 minutes with him there. But I think if we're talking about like main, just like number one scene that stuck out to me, was definitely, and I'm sure this is everybody else's choice too, but when he found out that Anakin Skywalker's alive, and just like the heartbreak and the despair that's on his face, it's just, I don't know, it's just such peak drama that like you don't really see in Star Wars anymore. That's the thing about Obi-Wan Kenobi show, is it feels more dramatic than other Star Wars has been lately. Like the Book of Boba Fett has been somewhat lighthearted, so to speak, and like the stakes weren't like huge. Not that that's a bad thing, because we like our small scale stories every now and then. And The Mandalorian was just like, you know, somewhat lighthearted again, but Obi-Wan Kenobi really just like sort of just, you know, brought in a bit of the intensity again that was kind of missing from the previous shows, I think. And that scene where he finds out that Anakin's back is like the number one exemplar of that, I'd say.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more. When he just says Anakin and Vader's eyes opened up, I mean, that was crazy.
Oh yeah. Smash cut to Hayden. Oh, that's the thing. I've been a little, you know, I've been somewhat skeptical of Disney's way with Star Wars in the past. Like it's had its ups and downs, in my opinion. And when I first heard that there was probably going to be a rematch between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader, I was like, oh well, that breaks the lore. And you know, when he left him, he was the learner, not the master. But now, like actually seeing the show, I'm like, you know what? Despite everything, despite my initial reservations, I think I trust them. I think this rematch is going to be awesome. So I think I might be on board with it. So because the way they're handling it so far is pretty nice.
Grant, what do you think?
So the moment that I have two moments that really stuck out with me. The first moment that actually stuck out to me before I started reading, you know, other blogs and stuff like that was the moment that he comes walking. He finally commits. He's going to leave Tatooine and go find Leia. And you have the Jawa that comes to him beforehand and brings him the Jedi belt. Hey, we found this Jedi belt. And he's like, oh yeah, okay, and he hands it back. And then that scene where he's walking up to the transport and he's getting ready to leave Tatooine, and you notice he's wearing some form of Jedi belt, right? Whether it was his old one or the one that he was just shown, but all this, it embodies that moment of, I've left this behind, right? Because we've already seen the scene where he's like, hey, go bury your lightsaber, this, that, and the other. And he's returning to that role. This is who I am becoming, right? I'm returning to my roots. And that short scene of him whipping his cloak back and you seeing the lightsaber for the first time after he's denounced everything that is Jedi, it was, for me, it was that final moment of like that Kenobi's back type thing. All we've seen is Kenobi is not a Jedi. I'm just cutting meat, right? I'm having to, he tucks that meat into the top of his thing. I'm having to steal meat to even make it by. I'm dealing with Jawas, this, that, and the other. And for me, it was that moment of, here is the Jedi Kenobi that we have come to know, and we've moved forward with that. The other major moment for me was, I feel like they set such a good scene of Jedi are gone, right? When they created that character, I can't remember what his name was. I think it was Hana or something like that. This fake Jedi that's using magnets and this, that, and the other. And how real world is that, right? These street performer people that are going to take something and, oh yeah, I'm here to help you. And they're here to take your money. Yeah, I just got a very, like, I know I mentioned it before, but like very Las Vegas Strip scene with this, like, oh yeah, no, I'm definitely this real person. Look at all the things I can do, and that was another like major moment for me as far as the show went. And then go ahead.
I totally thought that guy was an Imperial spy, by the way. I thought he was posing as a Jedi, because what better way to lure in Jedi than to, But anyway, I'm sorry.
No, I totally thought that too. I totally thought that there was going to be something like, obviously later he ends up becoming like, oh, I'm going to, redeem my sins or whatever. I did not think it was going to be something as simple as this street guy just trying to make money. But I loved it. I loved that it was the regular people in Star Wars, right? We talked about that in like the last bit that I did with you, just regular people in Star Wars. And I loved that. Now moving forward, so there was that. And I loved it. But one of the moments that really stuck out, I had no idea they were going to cast Leia whatsoever. I went back, read some blogs after I watched episode 1 and 2, and they showed these two correlation pictures. It was a total of 4 photos, one of Princess Leia on Endor, one of her in Cloud City, one of her, and then 2 of her from the new show. And one was the one of her in Cloud City, hair done up in braids, red, all this other type of stuff. And then it shows her now as child Leia. And you just see this beautiful correlation between, what we're used to and what we have now. And then another one of her on Endor when she's wearing her green camo cloak thing, and her when she puts on that green when Obi-Wan's going to save her. And it was just this beautiful correlation, hairstyles matching up very similarly. And, I have a daughter who's a pretty similar age. So seeing Leia, and just, it brought it back to that kind of reality for me, especially having a daughter, that I was like, this is what it's all about. And I can't wait to see that growth as we move forward with this character. Because I feel like Leia was this was the original films and on, very, very little in the prequels, really nothing in the prequels, very little lore surrounding Leia as far as film goes. So I just think it's a beautiful creation of this character that we've all come to love. So those were my moments. I know I covered like 8 moments there, but those were my moments that I loved in this show.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more, and I've always been a huge Leia fan, and I've wanted to explore her character more, so it's cool that we get to see a younger version of her, because I don't know about you guys, but I never expected to see a young Leia.
Well, I don't know how everyone else felt. I was expecting Luke, right? We saw the trailer where he's watching Luke, riding the air bike or whatever. That's what I expected. I expected it to be all Luke-based and Obi-Wan protecting Luke. Leia was completely out of the picture for me. I didn't even think about it. And now here we are, and it's taking me in a whole new direction. And I'm just excited because that means that there's how much more am I not expecting in future episodes,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've stayed away from like a lot of the leaks and things like that, and just trying to go into Kenobi fully blind. And I'm excited to see what happens in the upcoming episodes. Mackenzie, what about you? What were your favorite scenes?
Moments. Obviously, one of them's like that moment where Obi-Wan finds out about Anakin, because that moment just was so heartbreaking. We see on his face, you just see all these emotions going through, and it's just the moment that he figures out like who Darth Vader actually is. And I just that hit close to home. I was like, Obi-Wan's one of my favorite characters, so seeing him in so much pain, figuring out that his brother basically is this guy who's hunting him. It just hurt. And then that moment when he goes onto the ship, and all of a sudden we see Darth Vader, I was really surprised at that moment and see him like with his mask on, like breathing that like tank or whatever. I was so shocked, and I loved it because we're now getting back into like the original, seeing Darth Vader into that like his little wherever he is, I don't know, his temple or something. And then my second moment was the parallels between Luke, Leia, and Anakin. So obviously we see Luke, and he's like riding his ship or whatever, pretending he's flying. But then we see Leia, she's like naming all the ships and like being all interested in it. And Bale's like, oh, what ship did you see today? And like trying to encourage her in that passion. And then obviously we see Anakin when he's younger and he's flying the ships. He loves flying. And it just see like little glimpses of like how they're all similar, even if they never met Anakin. And even Leia, we don't always see a lot of similarities at times. We see her more Padme because she's like the senator and everything, but she is really similar to Anakin in so many different ways.
Yeah, that's crazy. I really didn't think about it that way, is that when she sees those ships and her kind of like rebellious spirit, it's definitely more has an Anakin vibe to it, because you know you always see kind of the more Padme Amidala side of Princess Leia, but that's an interesting way to look at it, because I totally didn't see it that way.
I think that that's great too. You know, sorry, now that I'm jumping back in, like you said, you know, they even create an entire scene where Obi-Wan relates her to Leia or to Padme, right? He's talking about, I knew a woman, and she, you know, basically talking about his mother. Yeah, she was a leader and this, that, and the other. You remind me of her. But like you said, the show, outside of that one conversation, that show relates her so much to Luke, or I'm sorry, to Anakin. Anakin built a droid, and that we show this Lola correlation, how in depth and in tune she is to droids and everything like that. You know, I just thought that was great. Not to jump back in on your thing, but yeah, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah, I thought Lola had an interesting design. We've never really seen a more of like a miniature style like droid for kids, so I thought that was kind of a cool little thing that they added in there.
Very BB-8-esque.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I can see where you're looking at from there.
I more like as a little kid toy or like a kid's droid. Like, you know, the parent would like give the kids like a little droid to be like, all right, this is your babysitter practically. Like, go have fun.
I could totally see it like teaching her math or something.
Yeah, I can definitely see it like teaching her how to like write legislation and like learn the laws of Alderaan and all that stuff. Nick, what was your favorite scene?
I mean, I think I'll have to agree with a lot of you with when Obi finds out that Anakin is still alive. But another one has to be when Obi-Wan is relating Leia to Padme. I've heard a lot of people saying that it might have been Satine, who is also a very headstrong woman, but I believe that he was talking about Padme just because that was Leia's mother.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. I think he was definitely referencing Padme instead of Satine. I mean, I think it really shows about how strong the dialogue is with some of these characters, and I think they're really nailing a lot of the key points of Kenobi.
It was cool to see, like, it was interesting to see other writers' takes on Obi-Wan, like, dialogue-wise, because, like, you know, I know everybody bashes, you know, Star Wars prequel dialogue, but like it's weird to see such like tight and modern dialogue being spoken by Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi. It was, you know, it felt like rock solid almost, and I don't think that's a thing that anybody's ever been able to say about Star Wars dialogue before this. You know what I mean? Like it felt like snappy and witty, but not in like the really like cringy Marvel way, but in like a sort of like it would have been so easy for a lot of what they gave young Leia's actress to work with. It would have been so easy to make that stuff like really like, oh, that's so dumb. But like it actually works pretty well. Like, and she totally sells it, even though she's talking about like, you know, like this makes me look like a Brobzoid, whatever. And like, it's actually like isn't terrible. And just seeing like there's a lot of things that stick out that the characters say, and they stick out not for meme reasons, but because they're actually decent pieces of dialogue. Like, you know, like you trained his father, and like, you know, Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think they're taking a more careful approach when it comes to dialogue, especially seeing as like what happened with Jake Lloyd and all the harassment that he got for the Phantom Menace. I think they went above and beyond to make sure that that doesn't happen with the actress that plays Leia, and quite frankly, I think they nailed it. She kills the role, and I think the dialogue's there to really help sell her role as Leia.
I hope so. She deserves all of the praise. She is officially the coolest kid in her school now.
Well, my favorite thing about her was the line, and I couldn't have thought of a better line to sum up everything, right? They make her very intellectual, and the one short scene where Obi-Wan looks at her and goes, "How old are you?" And she just, with all the confidence in the world, looks at him and goes, "I'm 10." And then he's like, "You don't sound like you're 10." You've justified every line that she could possibly give you at that point. Everything about the writing of that one scene justified that character across the board.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said before, I really think they're paying attention to the writing and making sure that it's definitely more on point than it has been in the past years and the past movies and stuff like that have come out. But out of all the characters that have been introduced and reintroduced in Kenobi, I feel like a lot of these characters really brought the heat when it comes to acting. What character stood out to you guys the most? Tyler, why don't you go first?
I mean, there were two. I mean, we're already touching on Owen, but as a man who has read and enjoyed The Expanse, which is all about ordinary people in a science fiction universe, it's so refreshing to see a character in Star Wars who isn't constantly shooting people and slicing people up with a lightsaber. We never ever get to see an ordinary person in Star Wars, so I appreciated Owen just for that. You know what I mean? I mean, joke's gonna be on me when he turns out to be like sharpshooter in like episode 5.
Oh, of course, right?
But, it was just because I feel like that's a little bit of what's missing in Star Wars, is that everyone's a total badass, and it was nice just seeing like regular folks, and also that opening scene with. Now, I haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, so I don't have any background on the Grand Inquisitor.
Well, you should. You need to now.
No, I don't have much background on the Grand Inquisitor, so I'm assuming this guy did a good job. But I mean, from what since this is my only exposure to the character besides like YouTube videos, his intro scene of him like monologuing about hunting Jedi, I was like, wow, this is actually, I like this villain. He's kind of a cool dude. I'm kind of confused what happened to him at the end. I mean, I'm guessing this is before Rebels, right?
This is before Rebels.
Yeah.
You need to go back and watch Rebels.
I know.
I'm going to reference it here soon, too. So
I hope he's not out of the show for good, because he was kind of a lot of fun to watch. Just his like kind of maniacal. It was like villain monologues, but like, again, one that actually works instead. Yeah, that was kind of fun watching. Like, we had the other like standout villain I can think of from the live action shows has been Moff Gideon, and poor Giancarlo Esposito, like, is just doing his all, giving his all to shrug off the yoke of Gus Fring, but but so yeah, he did a good job, but it was fun seeing like a villain that's as good as Moff Gideon, but like in a totally different way. Of his just kind of like, you can tell that is a man who doesn't work a day in his life because he loves his job that much. You know what I mean? He's just having a blast, just terrorizing all these people about the Jedi and whatnot. But anyway,
so I'm gonna feed off of that actually, and I'm gonna hit the Grand Inquisitor thing. Right, coming from a Rebels background, knowing Rebels, knowing, and hopefully I'm not spoiling anything here, knowing that we see. Rebels is later, knowing that we see the Grand Inquisitor in Rebels, I'm excited to see where we're going to go from here with, obviously, at the end, he gets stabbed in the gut. He's down, something from there. I'm very excited to see that. And what I loved about the monologuing of the Grand Inquisitor was I feel like that was a very 1970s, 1980s style bad guy. How many times do we see a James Bond villain monologuing about something, right? And we see that. That took me back to that 1977 George Lucas style bad guy thing, right? That first fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan when Darth Vader keeps talking throughout the whole thing about how he's going to win and everything. That's what I got out of the Grand Inquisitor, and I loved it. I don't come from a bad guy background, but I loved everything about that. And then moving forward, characters that caught me off guard. Obviously, we've already hit the Leia thing. That's out the window. Seeing this dinosaur character, and like I talked about, all of the background things within Star Wars, everything that was Star Wars, that's what caught me off guard. The livability of Star Wars, and like even the relatability of the Jawa that came in, and Obi-Wan takes his piece off of his moisture evaporator, and he goes, "This is mine. Could you just return it with cleaning?" And the one line of cleaning costs extra. Like, we all know that they're doing this type of stuff, but we're going to make it fun and we're going to make it relatable. And these are real characters that you see, not just random background characters. That like really brought it to light for me. So I'm excited to see where it goes with these other characters that they have.
Can we also take a second and realize that Tamora Morrison came back as a 501st Trooper? Like, how crazy is that?
God.
Like, actually in Clone Trooper armor.
Yeah.
Too. Like, no CGI, no nothing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that is
Obi-Wan
just
flipped
crazy
out.
to me. And can we also take a second to appreciate that we finally got Clone Troopers and live action armor? Like, to my knowledge, I think this is the first time.
I think that's the first
when I
time.
went back and looked at it. It looked like it was live action. Like, that is crazy to me.
Like it.
Yeah, how are they removing around their abdomen plates, how they were shifting? Those were definitely people in suits, which is really cool to see.
That's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
I still can't believe that we got live action clones. I mean, yeah, that's just crazy.
That's such a weird thing to say, that we have never, in the 17, 18, 19 years that they've existed, we have never ever seen live action clones until now. Like, even so, from what I was reading, even the Order 66 scenes that we saw in I forget whether it was The Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett, even those clones were CGI. So like, it's so weird that like it took them this long to show us like, live action clones.
So I come from a military background, so seeing that scene, hey, spare some money for an old veteran, that really hit me really hard.
Yeah.
But what I loved was we instantly went from that, right, this old clone trooper, to boom, right into stormtroopers right afterwards, right? He walks down the street, and further down the street, we instantly have stormtroopers. That instantly hit me. I know there was a lot of rumors, like before the show, I didn't know when we were going to see him or what we were going to see, but I know there was a lot of talk of, oh my gosh, is this a Commander Cody character? Are we seeing Commander Cody brought in? And what I loved is just the fact that we're even including that, right? This is the definitive link between prequels and originals. That is the definitive link right there. You're seeing a prequel character, whether it's a baseline clone trooper, into stormtroopers immediately afterwards. There's no definity there. Instant movement from one character to another. I thought that was perfect and beautiful for storytelling. Really a wonderful scene.
And the whole tragedy of like the Empire moving on to like their shiny new stormtrooper toys.
100%.
Even though the clones are like living, breathing people, they're not like battle.
They're not like
being
battle
treated
droids.
the same way the battle droids would be treated. You know what I mean?
100%.
So there's like a nice little extra layer of emotion there. And the same thing is happening with human clones who, yes, mercilessly gunned down youngling Jedi, and I have no sympathy for them, but
But that scene was awesome, right? That's a solid continuation scene from Revenge of the Sith to now. Wonderful.
It was really neat. And that's something that I feel like not a lot of people would think to include something like that, and it's kind of neat that like I like it when Star Wars kind of comes at you from the side. Like I know there was the whole like the sort of, not to get too much off topic, but the whole like subverting expectations thing that they did with The Last Jedi. But like, I like when that's not the objective.
It was a solid off-topic scene. It was.
Yeah, exactly.
I definitely was not ready for a Revenge of the Sith into what we're in now moment there, and I thought that was a solid revocation of what we're doing with that.
It's like what you were saying at the very beginning, how it was showing like all of the different inhabitants of the galaxy. It's such a good 5-second scene that just adds so much to the world building that like we probably would have assumed or not even thought about. But there you go, right in front of you. Here's some more Star Wars thoughts to chew on.
Here's something you thought you forgot about.
Yeah.
Exactly, right? Yeah.
So I like that.
But I'm just saying, Order 66, that scene when I saw the clone troopers come in, I'm just going to say it was just so weird seeing them go from animation, which I know, and then all of a sudden we see them actually in clone armor. My brain couldn't really comprehend that, and that was just a beautiful scene seeing them there. Okay. Anyways, Owen, just all his little comebacks and like what he was saying to Obi-Wan, like we always see him just as like a nice guy, like he raises Luke, so thank you for that. But they're kind of bringing him like this like other side to him where you're kind of hating him at times, and like we never really had that. You're like, really, you're being rude to Obi-Wan? He just tried to give him a ship, like that's all he wanted to do, and you have a small hate for him, but then you also just love him because you're like, look at this character that Star Wars is bringing in, and he's just a normal guy. Doesn't have superpowers or anything like that. And also the Jawa, I love that scene.
My man was on a grind. I respect it for days.
Yeah,
I loved it. I loved everything
scene,
about it.
the cleaning cost extra. That just one line, I was cracking up. Like we don't see Jawas have a sense of humor, but like, that scene between Obi-Wan and him, that was one of my favorite scenes too.
Right? Yeah, he said it multiple times, right?
No offense to my Jawa stands out there, but the best scene in all of Star Wars is the Mandalorian climbing up the sandcrawler and then grabbing the one dude and throwing him out. That I was literally, I'm not kidding, I'm not exaggerating, I was crying laughing when I saw that. I rewound it. Like I was watching it with some of my buddies and I rewound it like 3 times when I first saw it. We were all cracking up.
I think my favorite Jawa scene was when the Mandalorian's up there. He has his rifle, a disintegration rifle. First time we've seen one used, and he's looking at these people steal parts off a ship, and he's like, "Nope, I'm done." And he just starts disintegrating Jawas left and right. And it's not even like he's killing them. You're seeing this puff of their, not only their bodies smoking, but the little bits of their outfit, whatever it is, the whatever it is that they're wearing. Puff up and their robes. Thank you for the word that I could not find. Their robes puffing up and falling to the ground, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, this is." You've never thought of that type of thing. Yeah, it was amazing, absolutely amazing.
Why is there never like a Jawa accountant or something? Why are they all thieving fools?
Culture. It's a culture thing. There's this new bounty hunters game coming out for a Switch and phones and stuff. I don't know if have you seen that? Right, so. There's the Jawa characters in that. I'm actually pretty excited to see them as a character that you're able to play as. I'm pretty excited about that because we've seen Jawas since 1977. Let's see them now brought in as something that you can actually be,
Oh yeah, that Battle Royale game looks pretty cool. The Ugnaught with the droideka attachment is pretty freaking sweet. But Nick, what did you think? Who stood out to you?
I think I have to go with the veteran clone in episode 2. I just love Tamara and the big beard. Really gives me hopes for an old man Rex down the line someday.
Yeah, I hope so. Fingers crossed.
Definitely fingers crossed. I mean, that would be, to get an old man Rex would be awesome. Also, to get Cody, I think would be really freaking cool. I want to say in the trailer, next to Reva, I can't remember. Wait, do you guys know which one it is?
Reva, right? Reva? Yeah, I think it's Reva.
We're all going with Reva. Reva is an established term for the.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Well then, yeah, Reva. Well, she's next to in the trailer. She has 2 purge troopers like in Fallen Order, and Cody could definitely be one of those purge troopers, which. You could just have a really quick scene with Obi-Wan fighting the purge troopers, and I think that would be really cool.
Well, but we know that Cody doesn't die, right? Again, not everyone here has watched Rebels, but we know that Cody is in Rebels.
Stop it.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Really, he is?
What do you mean? What do you mean, really? Okay, I'm gonna stop talking now. Yeah, we need to have an entirely separate conversation about Rebels.
All right, that sounds good.
Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation about Cody and Rebels. Not to ruin it for everyone. Cody comes all the way through they've made a Cody link into the Battle of Endor. Just leaving it out there for everyone involved in this podcast. We'll have a fun conversation later, humans. But yeah, you and I can talk about that. I'll link some Cody talk.
I deeply apologize for my role in what just happened.
That's okay.
In the censoring of this podcast, I will forever live in shame.
I highly recommend you go back and watch Rebels. I highly recommend it. I've never been an animated person. Here's the thing. Here's my terrible thing. I could not get through Clone Wars. I know that's terrible. I'm sorry. I know. I'm sorry. I know. I'm a terrible human. Clone Wars. I'm old now. Clone Wars happened when I was a child. I missed out on it. Missed out on a lot of it. And everyone's like, "Yeah, watch season 6 and 7 to be able to get caught up to watch Bad Batch." I haven't finished Bad Batch. I just couldn't get hooked. I love the characters. Couldn't get hooked enough to keep watching it. And 6 and 7. I was left with nothing but questions. Was there a lot of great reference points? Yes, it was amazing. But I'm sorry I couldn't finish Bad Batch. But please give Rebels a chance, especially because it's getting a live action here, or it's getting live action bits here soon with Ahsoka. There's amazing things coming, and I'm sorry, but please watch Rebels. I will go back and watch the rest of Bad Batch if that's what's required to finish.
So what it sounds like to me is you guys both need to make a pact that
deal.
Tyler watches Rebels and you watch Bad Batch.
I can do that. I can live with that if that's what's required. Yeah. I'm in. I will cut my hand or whatever. I'm in. This is the blood pact. Okay, there we go. That's the blood pact right there.
I will say I do know of the scene in Rebels where Darth Maul and Obi-Wan have their rematch.
Beautiful scene.
From what we're seeing, I doubt that they can fit that into this show, but that's like my number one thing is I would absolutely adore to see that ported to live action. I don't know how that's going to work with like getting a random Ezra actor, because for people like myself who have not watched Rebels, we're just like, who's this kid that's hanging out with Obi-Wan in the desert? And then, it also takes place like 5-10 years after this. Oh my God, what am I thinking? Okay, we have time. Let's do in season 2.
Rebels will be after Kenobi. Rebels is 5 years before the Battle of Yavin. Don't quote me on that. But what I do know is it's before Battle of Yavin, post Kenobi. It's going to be post Kenobi. That scene is beautiful. I watched the scene breakdown, especially and I'm not a Jedi person by any means. I embrace the Mandalorian background, but I will say that the scene where he breaks down his different lightsabers going to Qui-Gon's thing, that whole breakdown. Yeah, that whole breakdown of the way he's going to carry the lightsaber, right? He looks at Maul and he breaks it all down into different positions. Beautiful. After I saw that breakdown, again, I didn't really understand it when I first watched it, but seeing that breakdown is definitely a beautiful scene, especially if you come from a Kenobi background, a Jedi background, was amazing. And I would love to see that in Kenobi. I was really hoping that we were going to see more Maul in Kenobi. I'm not going to lie. I know one person was saying that Maul was originally supposed to be the main villain. That's what I was reading in a thing. And we ended up with Darth Vader. Cool. We're going to end up with a cool paradox, whatever we end up with. But I would have loved to have seen a more live-action Maul in a show like this, for sure.
Listen, I'm certain that,
right?
Listen, just judging by Sam Witwer's enthusiasm for everything, I guarantee if they have any work for him, he'll jump on it immediately. So
I look forward to it. Yeah, for sure.
So as always, when there's a new character introduced to Star Wars, there's a little bit of controversy over that character, and Reva seems to be the big topic of debate. When you guys were watching the first 2 episodes, what did you think of Reva?
You want to go in reverse order for this? You want to hit Nick first, and
yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Sure. I thought she was a lot more like intense and aggressive than the others. I wonder if there's a reason that we're going to find out later as to why. I was kind of thinking that maybe because it's still pretty early on in the days of the Empire. So like the Senate would still be in place. So maybe the Empire doesn't want to push for like the slaughter of towns at this stage. So they're maybe telling their inquisitors to kind of take it easy on villages when hunting. but Reva just wants to find Kenobi for whatever means she wants to. But yet we see the fifth brother and the Grand Inquisitor tell her multiple times to basically stand down. So I think it's really interesting to see why she's this intense and aggressive when hunting.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that aspect of how intense she was compared to the other Inquisitors. I mean, she's throwing knives at people, she's lopping off hands, you know, she's like mind probing people. I really like that kind of lone wolf aspect about her.
After 7 years, Disney finally cut something off.
Right, I know. Luke gets his hand cut off, Anakin gets his hand cut off, and I guess the rest of his limbs. Like, what the heck, Disney?
That first scene, and I'm sorry, Mackenzie, I'm jumping in here. The first scene that popped to me was, right, we've all kind of correlated this whole maybe the third sister is within that first scene that we see with the Jedi Temple being taken down. Maybe it's one of those like Anakin spares her, sees the darkness within her type things.
Ooh,
allows because they talk about, right? They talk about the Inquisitors are Force sensitive or prior Jedi. So maybe she's one of those prior Jedi. Anakin has that relationship there. She's seeking, because we all see, right? She's obviously seeking that acceptance from Vader, Anakin, however she sees him. She's clearly accepting, or she's clearly looking for something there more than what the Grand Inquisitor, top-notch person. Who else should be looking for Vader's guidance aside from her? And now she is clearly looking for this for more reasons than others. She's been told, hey, go ahead, let it go, leave it alone. We're just going to find other random Jedi. And she keeps going after that. I feel like there has to be something more there. That's the only thing that I can think of is a link between, because we know that Anakin was at the Jedi Temple, right? He slaughtered younglings. Maybe we're going to get a scene where he goes to slaughter her and is like, I'm going to stop myself. You're going to come with me and maybe not be an apprentice, but you're going to learn how to adapt your force and become an Inquisitor for me type thing. And now I'm constantly searching for that acceptance from the person that allowed me to live type thing. I don't know. That's just something that comes into my mind.
Yeah.
Very Force Unleashed-esque, like Starkiller.
Right? Thank you. Yeah, Starkiller, something along those lines. I don't know. Let's see how it goes type thing.
Yeah, you saying that, it would definitely make sense because she knows that, like, Anakin is Darth Vader. So if Anakin spared her, she has that, like, knowledge because, that's there. But then also if she knows that Anakin's Darth Vader, that's why she has that fixation, because she knows that they have a close relationship. Yeah. And now she's like, if I defeat Kenobi, then I want to be really high up to Darth Vader's, like, status. Like, I could even maybe beat the Grand Inquisitor and become Grand Inquisitor now. So I feel like if they had,
or even his apprentice, like, who knows,
better, because then she's going to be in those high ranks and she's going to be respected among the galaxy even more than she already is.
I just had a kind of thought. How many of you watch Better Call Saul? All right, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so never mind. But I'm wondering if this sort of bravado of hers, this kind of warpath she's on to get Kenobi, I wonder if that's going to backfire on her, because I wonder if Vader's going to find out, like, wait a minute, you did what to Kenobi? He was mine, kind of stuff. So I feel like
exactly
this is going to completely backfire on her. Like, if she has any success with Obi-Wan, she's done. She's out.
I'm going to present you to Vader, right? Isn't that what she brought up? She's like, I'm going to be the one to catch you and present you to Vader.
Okay. Reva gets to live another day.
Maybe. I don't know. I'd love to see her go, but maybe.
Well, the thing about Reva knowing who Darth Vader / Anakin was is that, like, she said that she was scouting over the records and the archives. And in the archives, it was said that Anakin died defending the younglings. So maybe she, like, put 2 and 2 together, and then she saw also the holo recording of Palpatine telling Anakin that he's now Darth Vader.
Yeah, that was more of a Legends. No, you're fine. Wasn't that more of a Legends thing, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, And if that's the direction that they go, that's going to bring all of that to canon, obviously. But I feel like that's a real Legends part. Canon, we see him slaughter younglings. Like, I've got guys that work for me that have like lightsabers with NeoPixel blades, and when they get to the Anakin soundboard, I'm just saying, it starts Master Anakin, that whole fucking part, and they hit the lightsaber, and there you go. And I'm just saying, there's a reason that I like that soundboard.
I saw a theory.
Thank you for that.
Honestly, I mean, I saw this. I'm not taking credit for this. This is somebody else's theory that I saw. But honestly, we see in the movie when Obi-Wan and Yoda are investigating the technical, they see on the security footage, the Emperor is like, well done, Lord Vader. If she saw that footage, she heard the Emperor address Anakin Skywalker as Lord Vader. So, and since there is a Lord Vader that is like third in command of the Empire, it's not hard to put together that was Anakin. So she might have seen that footage and be like, oh, I've got some insider information, and it's the exact information that can mess with Obi-Wan,
She made the same insight as regular humans made watching that scene. Yeah. Weird how that works. She's very insightful. We all have the Force.
Mackenzie, do you have anything to add about Reva?
I don't think so. I saw this one theory. Someone, I'm not taking credit for it, so they think that she's gonna start out all bad and like hunting Kenobi, but at the end she's gonna redeem herself and turn back to the light side. I don't know. That's just some rumor I saw. I feel like they may kill her off. That's an idea.
God.
Could you imagine?
Qui-Gon, poor Qui-Gon is rolling in his grave right now, because if what you guys are saying is true and the Grand Inquisitor comes back for, to wreak havoc in Rebels, and poor Qui-Gon takes one, because everybody in Star Wars comes back to life now. People are talking about like how Cad Bane's going to come back to life and how like Cobb Vanth is coming back to life. Grand Inquisitor is going to come back to life. Meanwhile, Qui-Gon takes an itty-bitty little stab wound, and he's dead.
I'll tell you, one of my favorite cosplayers is this random guy. I don't know who he is, but he cosplays as a Jedi Force ghost. He full Jedi robes. I'm sure you guys have seen him, and he wears like basically like that blue like thin netting around him. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, that guy. Like, I'm telling you, if he can do that, Qui-Gon is rolling in his grave, because all of the stuff that's getting ready to happen is incredible. The Grand Inquisitor, I'm telling you, go back and watch it. I came into this knowing, like, when I watched that stab, I was like, I'm confused. There's a plot here somewhere. Someone's going to tell me something. So I'm very excited to see where this goes, because they made him look too much like the Grand Inquisitor to have him die this early. So I'm very excited to see where this is going to come about. There's a major plot somewhere in there involving him.
No, what they're
like Spaceballs? Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was thinking of Spaceballs. You idiots! You captured their stunt doubles. Did she kill the Grand Inquisitor's stunt double?
Right? Oh, 100%. I can't. Perfect reference. Solid reference with that.
Thanks, man.
Spaceballs reference. Yeah. Solid reference.
Sorry, Mackenzie.
No, you're fine.
Fine. What they're gonna do, I saw this meme. They're gonna go and like Boba Fett, how Fennec Shaw, and she, is alive now. They're gonna go to that shop and they're gonna be like, "Here's the Grand Inquisitor. Can you like fix him up?"
Oh, 100%. Right. It's the same area, right? Isn't it? It's that abdomen area. It's easily fixable. Yeah, he's about to become a droid in that center area. Yeah. Okay, we've seen this before. It's all doable.
Exactly.
Yeah. Perfect.
Technology just wasn't there for Qui-Gon.
No.
So the final question I have for you guys is, what do you want to see in the upcoming episodes of Kenobi, or what are you most excited to see or want to see?
Tyler, I'm going to jump in before you. The one main thing that I hope that we see is, I hope that we see more Cody. I hope that's, I was about to say more Kenobi. I hope that we see more Cody. We saw this brief reference, right? If you've watched Rebels, you've seen Cody come to light. You've seen other clones come to light. They very clearly threw that in. I'm really hoping that's not just like a pitch to the actor. Hey, thanks for being so good in our show. I really hope that becomes something. And I hope that we see more background within Star Wars. I hope that we see more of the little kind of things that build Star Wars, whether it's more of the little, I'm going to pretend to be a Jedi, more of the Imperials, more of the way that like the transition between clones to Imperials. I really hope that we see, I hope that we see more of that versus just this.
It's exactly what Star Wars needs, is like just more good little nuggets of world building like that.
Just world building. I hope that Kenobi gives us more world building versus just main character plots to lead into all of the other things we've had. And especially with Ahsoka coming, I hope that we see some little throwouts to how we build the Ahsoka character, how we build the world that Ahsoka is going to create. And especially, like, I would love to see a link. They've dropped nodes of this Skeleton Crew show. No one knows anything about it. I would love to see 1 or 2 little drops to what this Skeleton Crew show is going to be.
American Graffiti in Space.
Yeah, American Graffiti in Space. Even if it's a completely irrelevant anecdote, give me something. Give me something that's going to link this show to the Star Wars universe in some way, if, ands, or buts, or something that's going to link me to the Ahsoka show. Give me something that's going to bring in what it is that we've created up to this point.
Honestly, I'm just here for the ride, because already, every theory I had went out the window as soon as I realized the timing of it. I was like, okay, probably not going to see Darth Maul. That was probably my number one theory, per se. And, the show completely went into completely different direction than I thought it would with Princess Leia, which, by the way, I was kind of skeptical on, like, what in the world could possibly make Obi-Wan leave Tatooine? And, like, oh yeah, of course, Princess Leia being kidnapped is like the only thing that would get him off the planet. So, like, I'm glad that it actually makes sense, and I'm glad that it feels like there's a reason for this series to exist. But my thing is, my hopes for the show is just simply, listen, I don't think I'm alone in saying that, as a consumer of media in general, I, like a lot of other people, have been hurt by bad endings. I just hope that Kenobi sticks the landing, because it's off to a super promising start so far, and it feels like something special. I mean, it's the return of Ewan and Hayden. It's that sort of return to the intensity and despair that Star Wars hasn't had for a couple shows. It's just like, it feels like they're working with a lot of gold right now. There's a few like clunky things that I've seen with like the editing of the action scenes and that one person running into a tree branch that they saw from 30 feet away. But like, by and large, just writing wise, it feels rock solid so far. And if they nail it, this can be something really special, I think. So that's, no fancy theories. I just want them to do as well with the next 4 episodes as they did with this. And also, I think I could do with, I wanted to slow it down for a few scenes. I really want there to like go into, like, it's doing a lot of things very right. Like, Obi-Wan having his visions of Anakin during his sleep and talking to Princess Leia about how she reminds him of Padme. Just like the slower, calmer character building moments, I think will really just make everything else shine when the action's going down and when people are dying and things are blowing up. I think it'll make those scenes matter that much more if we have a bit more introspection, because the first episode did a lot of that very well. And so yeah, some quieter scenes and just stick the landing. That's all I'm looking for.
Yeah, I definitely think they will. I think they got a good and strong path forward, and I really like that. I think they're trying to not only include prequel fans, but every other fan that's joined along the way, and I think they're really doing a good job about bringing everybody in.
I like the link. I'm bringing this back to what is Star Wars. I'm going to pick a piece out of the sequels I'm going to bring in a clone. I'm going to bring a piece out of Clone Wars or the Mandalorian, where I'm going to bring in your actual clone, and I'm going to bring in a part that is, hey, now you have Leia as young Leia, and hey, here's Luke, and I'm going to bring it back to what is Star Wars. I'm going to make all of this relate to what you love, whether you're a sequels fan or an originals fan or a trilogy fan. I'm going to bring all of that back. That's what I loved.
it was kind of cool. By the way, it was. I feel like I feel like I'm the only person that noticed like right away. But when they first showed that establishing shot of the city on Alderaan, I was like, oh my god, we're gonna see Alderaan. And I'm the only person on planet Earth that got excited to see Alderaan because like when I was a kid, I would watch Revenge of the Sith, like a bunch of times per day on the TV screen. And like I was a sci-fi nut, so when I saw that cool looking shot of Alderaan at the very end of Revenge of the Sith, I was like, wow, that's a cool looking city. I would pause it and just look at it. So then I saw it on screen 17 years later. I'm like, oh my God, wait, that's Alderaan. That's pretty cool. They're actually seeing it. But also what you were saying about like how they're taking stuff from all the different eras of Star Wars and sort of making them relevant. I said this on an earlier show of Max's before, but it's kind of interesting how lately, or not lately, originally Disney, especially with the sequel trilogy, they seemed super reluctant to they wouldn't touch the prequels with a 10-foot pole. And now we have a show that is not only starring the characters from the prequels, but we're also having flashbacks of events that happened in the prequels in the very content of the show. So it's cool seeing, an oft neglected area of Star Wars finally be given a little bit of
life.
Throw it in.
Let's throw it life.
I leave it to you.
As life. I remember Alderaan exploding is what I remember from my childhood. Oh, this is Alderaan. Boom, Alderaan's gone, and now Alderaan's an asteroid field. That's what I remember of Alderaan, and now I see how poor a city of Alderaan, and it's, oh my gosh, this is a real place that people lived. This is where Leia grew up, before I just knew Alderaan as an asteroid field.
It's like that. It also is the Clone Wars effect in which I know you haven't seen the Clone Wars, but you've probably heard people say that the Clone Wars sort of retroactively fixed some of the prequels.
It gave life. It gave life to a lot of things.
Just like in the original Star Wars, where we hear a lot about Alderaan and oh, it's Princess Leia's home planet. So we care because of that, but now we're actually seeing the people who live there and what life is like there, and we're kind of retroactively it's making the original Star Wars better because now we're oh man, that's a lot of people dying, and those people have faces now.
Well, prime example, right? For those, I'm sorry, I know I'm jumping in. I keep jumping in, but for those that never knew, Chewbacca outside of Chewbacca as a Wookiee. Wookiees come from Kashyyyk. We never knew Kashyyyk until Clone Wars. When we saw Kashyyyk, right? And we keep seeing it throughout Clone Wars. And hey, Kashyyyk is a real planet with real creatures that live on that planet. Same concept. We're finally seeing the world or the universe building, the galaxy building that is Star Wars, right? What we all hoped for. Well, I mean, how many times did we as kids or even young adults type into Wikipedia hoping to find some type of answers? And now the rest of the world doesn't have to see that. They don't have to type into Wikipedia. They're getting to see it firsthand through Disney Plus or whatever they're watching it on. They're getting to see these worlds that we all built in our minds as they're watching these shows.
It's kind of sad, but not really sad. But it's kind of in a way, it's like watching your favorite band, when you used to see them in bars and at, the smaller venues. And now they're playing big sold out crowds with pyrotechnics and,
And that guy.
Screens.
I think I know that guy.
Yeah, and you're kind of sitting there now. You're like, man, you kind of wish when it was just yours. But it's also nice to have everybody else enjoying this band alongside me now. So
yeah, 100%. Great reference. Great reference.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that's a really good metaphor for the Star Wars universe. But that's the thing I love about it is you can always hold those special moments near and dear to your heart and keep those to yourself, and then you can share other moments with everybody else. There's always new moments being created, and I think that's something that's really cool about Star Wars. But Mackenzie, what did you want to see from future Kenobi episodes?
Yeah, I feel personally, I'd love to see just the Inquisitor background. We know they're there. We see them in Rebels and everything, but on screen, we never really see where they're training. If there's a whole nother aspect of them, their base or that. So I feel if we can see their where they're living, or they're not always off out and about hunting Jedi. They're going to acts or something like that. I feel just seeing that would be a cool aspect of Star Wars, because we're gonna see more of the Empire. I hope that Disney and all the director can just keep it steady how it's going. So don't just go off on some crazy like aspect of it. Just keep it how it's going and stick the landing. Stick the landing, obviously, where it sets it up perfect for New Hope. And I just want a good lightsaber fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Like, I don't want the like a sick fight.
Yeah. Can I retroactively? I actually remember something I was going to say for what I was looking for. Just real quick, I want to get it out there because I think it might spark a little bit of discussion. But I think my number one, if I were to have like, my dream scene in the Obi-Wan show, I really, really, really want to see a flashback, even if it's just like 2 minutes, like a flashback with Obi-Wan and Anakin before everything happened. I think a lot of people would really enjoy seeing something like that.
I'd love to see.
Oh yeah, Mackenzie, oh, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. I don't come from a Jedi background. Jedi aren't my thing. I would love to see. We know how it ends, right? We know in A New Hope how it ends. I would love to see. I'd love to see Obi-Wan beat Anakin in a saber duel and create that scene of when I left you, I was the student, but now I'm the master. Create that scene for those that are brand new to Star Wars. All these young kids, I have 4 young kids now with my stepkids, 4 young kids that have no real reference of what that is. Create that scene for them. Where was the student and the master? And show us right before we enter that final scene. You know what I mean? Like, we have such an ability to create such an amazing scene right there.
Should the post-credit scene of the whole show just be that the FX It in post short film that they made of I don't know if any of you, Max, I know for a fact you've seen it, but somebody like redid the Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader fight. They like deep faked like Alec Guinness's face of the actor, and it was just like a modernized version of their fight. That shit just look, Disney is no stranger to stealing people's art anyway. So I mean, just pay
them $100,000 and just say, "Hey, your art is ours now," and do that scene. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I know exactly what scene that is. I think that would be incredible. Create that as canon. Hey, we created this in 1977. Welcome to the modern age. This is what we have now.
And that short film was amazing. So those guys deserve the Disney bucks anyway.
Just 100%. Yeah,
each of them $5 million. Let them retire in luxury for giving us such an awesome short film. And then just, post-credit scene, 5-minute long post-credit scene. Go nuts. Have fun, Star Wars fans. There's literally no chance they're going to do this. But if you guys saw the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robert Downey Jr.,
yep.
How he's just like
a
observing.
Full breakdown.
They should do like the old, like, they're poking sticks at each other, but it goes into Alex Guinness's mind, like, this can bother me. Just like, they're not going to do that, but that would really explain why they were just poking each other in the original movies.
The one thing that I've loved about the original movies, and I brought it back to reality, is why Alex Guinness, why did he give up, if you will? Why did he not fight through, right? We've seen Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's not a quitter. Obi-Wan's going to enter himself into all these situations. But we've seen that he realized, right? That's the pivotal moment for Luke. Why does Luke become such a fighter? He watches. Why is he going to fight Darth Vader out of everyone so hard? Was that moment created right there? What I'm really hoping is that whatever we see is not going to discredit that Obi-Wan as a character throwing himself away to, holding his lightsaber up and just allowing Darth Vader to make that strike. Because we all know that Obi-Wan is an amazing fighter. We've seen that time and time again. Even with a blaster in this most recent series, he's able to make his way through these gunfights. But yet he chooses in this moment, he knows what it's going to do to him. He brings that lightsaber up and he allows himself to take that hit, to become a Force ghost. And the moment that is, I hope that we don't discredit that with whatever this fight's going to become to create some elaborate fight scene. But that moment is a pivotal role in what remains of Star Wars, why Luke becomes the character he becomes. So I really hope that we don't lose that just to create some badass fight scene. And I'm really hoping that he realizes that Obi-Wan is maybe better than Darth Vader, but he's going to give himself up for the greater cause, because that is what I, as a kid, always saw as Obi-Wan was He's going to sacrifice himself for what is the better cause, what is going to elaborate and force this pivotal moment forward. So I hope that's something we see. Yeah, right. That's a true Jedi should.
This is going to be like the Super Bowl. Like, I remember back in the day when, I know this is a very, sort of hated
specific
name.
moment.
Not hated name. I shouldn't say hated for the fans that it has, but a very controversial name out there. Back when Game of Thrones came out, there were literally like fantasy football brackets of like who was going to kill the Night King and like who was going to take the Iron Throne. I feel like people are kind of setting up like, yo, I bet Darth Vader's going to win this fight. No, it's going to be Obi-Wan. He's going to win. Like people are like placing their bets now. It's going to be like Mayweather versus, I don't know, any other boxers.
Mayweather and Floyd. That was like the go-to, wasn't it, a couple years ago? Mayweather and Floyd was the go-to. Yeah, I feel the same thing.
Okay, one thing is if we're talking about Clone Wars flashbacks, they could use the opportunity to bring in a younger Ahsoka to set up the Ahsoka scene.
Oh my God, people would go crazy.
Little Ahsoka show up with Anakin, they're about to do a mission or something, and then maybe just bring in Rex or Cody right there. Is
Dave Filoni involved?
Yes.
Okay, then it's happening.
And these are
if Dave Filoni's involved, then it's happening.
These are big oof moments that we're creating, right? Typical big oof moments is the only way that I can describe this.
I'm just pretty curious to see how the whole Leia aspect of the series is going to be tied up. The last 2 episodes were very Leia driven. So I'm curious to see if just Obi-Wan drops her off at Alderaan on his way back to Tatooine, and if we're just done with her for the rest of the time, or if there's a more of a purpose to why she showed up other than to get him off Tatooine for a bit. So I think that's what I'm most curious to see of what happens there. In terms of theories or anything like that, I don't have any. I'm kind of just here for the ride, just to see the big duel.
Well, something I was reading, right? Again, this comes back to fan theory and everything else. Something I was reading is that Qui-Gon's one of the first Force ghosts, right? One of the first individuals that's able to accept that. And it's almost one of those moments of when Obi-Wan lifts up his lightsaber and takes that hit from Vader, he's accepted this. I know that I'm going to guide Luke, right? Because we don't see Qui-Gon, obviously, in the originals. We see Obi-Wan guiding Luke as a Force ghost. And so that's almost one of those moments for me of, okay, are we going to see something that shows Qui-Gon to Obi-Wan so Obi-Wan accepts his fate as a Force ghost? I know that I can continue myself and my leadership through the Force. Are we going to see that in this show? You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. Right, it's a Kenobi show. I don't care about Anakin. I don't care about any of the other stuff that's going to happen, right? If this is the true focus of the show, we know that eventually Obi-Wan is going to become a Force ghost. Are we going to see something that's going to lead him to believe that, especially with how much lore and everything is out there about Qui-Gon, his master, being a Force ghost? Are we going to see something with that? And I think all of the things you guys have mentioned have been a great thing leading into that.
Well, even if you look at the way that like they set up that like little trailer at the beginning showing like Obi-Wan's life and everything, the one of the things Yoda's like, I'm gonna teach you, or you're gonna learn how to like communicate with Qui-Gon. So they can't leave it at that and never show.
Nope.
So I feel like they kind of set that up and put that little detail in our minds so that later on we will actually see them interact as a Force ghost.
I like the idea that Qui-Gon Jinn was like he most embodied the ideals of the Jedi, but he was least like the Jedi at large. I like the idea that, it wasn't like none of the other Jedi got to become Force ghosts. It was Qui-Gon Jinn who was sort of an outcast in the Jedi Order. It's kind of neat that like he was the first one to really he was the one that was right all along. He was the only one that did it right. You know what I mean?
One thing that I really want to see is I want to see a definitive link between Obi-Wan and Yoda. Obi-Wan turns around and Obi-Wan sends Luke to Yoda directly through his Force Ghost sends him directly to Yoda. I want to obviously we've seen in the prequels. Cool, he knew Yoda. I want to see a definitive link there. You know, like this is the guy that you're going to go to. Something within that realm, something that links the two together. And you know, I'm sure that Nick has some type of link with all of this, but those are the things that are in my mind. Is what have we not seen yet? You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's going to end the roundtable discussion. First off, I just wanted to say thank you to each one of you for coming on and sitting and talking about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show with me. I really appreciate you taking the time out of y'all's busy schedules. I think we're going to end it on, why don't you one more time list off your social medias so everybody can find you guys.
I appreciate you having me once again. Always a pleasure, sir. But yeah, I can be found on Instagram under the name dtylerpierson. That's P-I-E-R, son. And on Twitter at approachingcpod.
I'm Grant. You can find me on Instagram at Vanguard Mandalorian. Just brand new to Hulk reading this Mandalorian stuff, and we will go from there. I look forward to seeing y'all.
By the way, you don't look new. By the way, those masks, those helmets in the background look pretty neat.
I promise you, I'm brand new to this. Nick is like my go-to for all of this, so I follow his stuff. Inherently, the fact that I'm on a podcast with him or on a whatever video this is incredible for me. But yeah, no, I'm brand new to all of this. It's all brand new to me, so I'm learning as I go.
And Nick, you made those in the background too?
Correct. Yes.
Oh, that fantastic. Well,
yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
Max, you bring like the most talented folks on these roundtable discussions. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, you guys can find me on TikTok and Instagram at just mackenziejoy_. And also, if you guys want to support my cosplays, the next one is going to be Cad Bane, so you guys can go.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Oh man, if you guys haven't seen her Cad Bane hat already, she's bringing back Big Hat Cad Bane.
Oh my god, please tell me the hat is like 6 feet in diameter. Just
It's coming along. I need to make
Oh my god,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing.
All right.
Sure. You can find me on Instagram at CGS_props or on Etsy at CGSProps.
All right, and I'm going to add my social medias as well. You can find me at PMPS_DEN. That's PMP's Den on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and then, of course, obviously YouTube. If you guys want to get a hold of me, Instagram's probably the best one. I'm on that one the most. But yeah, check out all my social medias. And if you guys have made it this far in this video, thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. And also subscribe, because I'll be doing a whole bunch of Kenobi roundtables, and then Andor, and then Bad Batch, and so on and so forth. So thank you guys for watching, and as always, may the Force be with you.